Okay everybody, so in this video I'm going to show you how to calculate your diet and how to start planning things out. So I literally have like pages and pages of diets that I just create and then I figure them all out. So what you want to do is, like, once you know your proteins and your carbs and your fats, for example. So like in our example of doing the maintenance diet, if I'm going to have 150 grams of protein to 300, that's my range. But if I want 75 to 150 carbs, and then we stick to 75 fats. So we got proteins, carbs, and fats right here. So if we know throughout the day that we're going to have like 5 meals, if you want to aim for, like, let's just say 150 grams of protein and we divide that by 5, you know that each meal has to have 30 grams of protein on average, but you're more than welcome to go over because your range is up to 300. So you can have up to that many. So I usually have around 200 to 225 grams of protein. That's just the way my diet works out. But for instance, if you were really to do this, you could have up to 60 grams of protein in each meal. So if you're a bigger person, so if you're like 6'2" or whatever, and you need more nutrients to keep your body going, this might be, something great for you. And when it comes to the carbs though, it's really easy, like I said, in my lifestyle tips, to eat less carbs throughout the day. And I typically do this. So like, I will have my first 2 meals of the day will have carbs in it, and then my 3rd and 4th and 5th meal will have less carbs in it. So it's easy to get some meals in that have less carbs, and I'll show you what I do in this plan right here. This is the plan that I do currently right now at the moment, which I'll show you in just a second. But when it comes to carbs, if you have 75 carbs throughout the day, and that's your minimum, and let's just say 3 out of your 5 meals are going to have carbs in it. So if we know this for sure, each meal that we can have, the first 3 can have like 25 carbs. But the good news is we're able to go up to 150, and that's our buffer. So if you really had to have carbs in every meal, you can still have 30 carbs in every meal going that way. So if you want to just kind of do an average, we're going to map things out, and we're going to plug in our numbers here. So then we know we could have 25 to 30 carbs in our meals if we really want to. But my first 2 meals usually have just up to 75 carbs. And then if I work out, I'll have more carbs later on. And then when it comes to fats though, we have 75 grams of fat. And if we want to have 5 meals, we know that each meal that we have that day has 15 grams of fat, which means every meal that we cook with can have 1 tablespoon of olive oil or 1 tablespoon of butter. Or if you're eating chocolate, there's there's typically fat in chocolate and things like that, and cheesecake and whatever else. Cheese has lots of fat. So on the maintenance diet, you're able to enjoy cheese, which is a great thing as well. So if you're into cheese, that's good news for you. So, and meats and cheese are high protein, high fat, low carb. So that's why the maintenance diet kind of gives you a little more flexibility with the enjoyment of life and enjoyment of food. So now that we know that we can have this is kind of like our range per meal. So when we come into our diet plan, and what you can do is kind of just structure things out. Is okay, I know every meal is going to be 30 to 60 grams of protein. The first few meals might be 25 to 30 grams of carbs. And then there's going to be 15 grams of fat in every meal. So that's just an average. Not every meal is going to turn out that way. But this is just a target to aim for. So if you go over your carbs or less than carbs or vice versa with your proteins and fats, at least you're hitting your range. And so your scratch diets might look like something like this when you're putting things together. And so what I typically do, and I type this out so it's easier to read. So, but anyways, so when you kind of go through your diet and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, is you just kind of map things out on a piece of paper, and it's best to stick to your diet every day, eating the same thing every day. Otherwise, you'll be calculating your meals ridiculously. But once you have it structured, I'm going to show you how to substitute your meals out, so it's very easy to do. So here's my maintenance diet that I typically will do. And as you can see right here, if I were to eat all 6 meals that I aim for, I'm gonna have 232 grams of protein, and still with eating 6 meals, I have 136 carbs. And then when it comes to fats, I'm gonna have 84 grams of fat. So I'm gonna just explain this right now. On my non-workout days, if I don't do any cardio, if I don't go to the gym, these are my numbers right here. And as you see, I'm still hitting my 150 grams of protein. I'm still having 75 grams of carbs as my minimum. I'm hitting 88. And then when it comes to fats, it's just at 50. But at the end of the day, if I do work out, say I do my cardio, I do my weights, I'm gonna have like my protein shake, and then like I'm gonna have a late night snack before I go to bed. And then these are my total numbers at the very end. So on my maintenance diet, I'm still hitting my numbers pretty much perfectly. And so if I don't work out, and this is a tip for you as well. So if you're not working out, if you don't want to go to the gym, and you have an office job or whatever, and you live a pretty low active life, you might want to use a lower calorie option. I didn't mention that earlier doing the diets, but if you're not working out at the gym, like the gym burns off, like if you're in the gym for an hour, you're going to burn 500 calories on average. So I mean, if you're not going to the gym, you might have to cut your calories another 500 from your maintenance. So we described the maintenance calorie number, and then we subtract 500, and that'll be your cutting diet to lose weight. But if you're not going to the gym, take off another 500 calories off that number, because those 500 calories is something you would burn off in the gym. So if I don't go to the gym, I'm going to hit around 1,400, 1,500 calories all day long. But if I do work out, I'm going to have like my protein drink, and then I'm also going to have some eggs before bed for some extra protein, and I'm still hitting 2,250 calories. And as mentioned, if I want to weigh 150, 2,250 calories is my target, and I'm still right here, just hitting it, just coming close to it, so I'm not too far off. So let's just go over this just really quickly on how a day of eating looks for me and how this could look for you. And I'm going to show you how to switch food out if you want to do something else. So for instance, every morning I'm going to have egg whites with an English muffin, and on my English muffin, I'm going to have peanut butter and jelly. So like 12 ounces of egg whites is 36 grams of protein. There's no carbs, there's no fats in egg whites. English muffin, there's 36 carbs. And so you just, like I said, when you plan out your meals, you just basically look at all of this and figure it out. And so I'm going to give you some basic diets that you can follow right now, so you don't have to work so hard. I'm going to make this easy as possible for everybody. So, but you could easily follow this diet if you wanted to, but if you didn't like egg whites, for instance, you could change it out with something else. Or if you didn't like rice, you want potatoes, you can change it out for something else too. So getting back to it, so this meal one is my breakfast, and as you can see, there's 36 grams of protein right here in the egg whites, another 6 grams of protein in the English muffin, and then there's another 7 grams in the peanut butter. So we're hitting over 40 grams of protein, which we're right here in our range between 30 and 60. So we're hitting 40 grams of protein. So we're right on target with that. So we're just gonna kind of go through this really quickly, and then like here's our carbs. And then the second meal, we have a protein such as chicken. Now, I put 99% fat-free protein, which means chicken breast, which is skinless. And you can also do steamed shrimp, which is another great one. So, but other seafood items like salmon might be high in fat. So is bison and chicken thighs and things like that. So we do a 99% fat-free protein, but that allows us to cook with 1 tablespoon of butter or olive oil. So there we go. We got 15 grams of fats right there. So that's part of our target right here is 15 grams of fat. So we're on target with our fat on this meal. But here's what you can do. If you don't want the 99% fat-free chicken breast or the 99% fat-free ground turkey or even steamed shrimp, but you want to have salmon or bison or red meat, which has like high in fat, you could eliminate the butter, and then in your salmon or your bison or whatever, a serving of that is going to have about 12 grams of fat anyways. So you just substitute, take out the butter, take out the fat-free protein, and now you can have like salmon or bison with rice and beans, and that's part of your second meal. So this is where you can substitute things out, but I just want to give you a structure. That way you're at least on target with what you're doing. So 5 ounces of protein in this second meal, 100 grams of rice, and then half a cup of beans. So here's something really cool. So if you got 100 grams of rice, you got 22 carbs. But let's just say you don't have any beans on hand, which are, 1/4 cup is going to be 10 carbs. But let's say you don't have any beans, but you do have extra rice. So instead of having 100 grams of rice, you'll have 150. And so you'll have 33 carbs of rice, and then you have no beans with your meal. So you're still hitting your target as far as carbs go on that. So I just want to kind of illustrate to you how easy it is once you have your diet structured out. And if you don't have something or you want something else, you just substitute one thing and plug in something else. So like for instance, take out the butter, add in salmon or bison, and you don't have to have the 99% fat-free protein or etc. So I hope that makes sense. So my meal 3 is gonna be a low carb meal, whereas we had like 30 carbs here, we have 32 carbs here, whatever. And then meal 3, as we go throughout the day, we're gonna have less carbs. And so the next meal, I'll have this around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll have breakfast at 9 in the morning, noon, and 3. So here we are in the mid-afternoon, less carbs. So we can do it 99% fat-free protein. And we also have 1 cup of vegetables, which we don't really count those as far as like when it comes to like carbs and proteins, because they're just so small when it comes to that. And then we got 1 tablespoon of salad dressing. So let's just say you didn't want salad dressing, but you want to put olive oil with lemon juice on your salad or your vegetables, you can do that. But this is like going to be a low carb meal right here. So same thing, if you didn't want a 99% fat-free protein, you could eliminate your salad dressing and have chicken thigh or salmon with your vegetables, such as a salad or whatever. And so, but this is going to be a high protein meal, and it still has fat in it, which fat is going to help you stay full all day long as well, which is another great thing about fat. So this is an illustration of what my meal 3 looks like. And then when I come home from work, and like let's just say I want to go to the gym, I'm going to have for my meal 4, 1 serving of Greek yogurt, which is 170 grams. And then I'm going to put 1 scoop of whey protein in it. So Greek yogurt is 18 grams of protein. It's low in carbs and there's no fats if you get the non-fat Greek yogurt. And then 1 scoop of whey protein is 25 grams of protein, 6 carbs, and we got 1 gram of fat. So this one meal alone right here is again about 40 grams of protein, only 13 carbs, low fat. And so this is what I'll eat later in the day, right before I go to the gym, because I'm gonna want something that's easy to digest. Because like if I'm coming home from work at 6 o'clock at night and like I have my yogurt, I can go hit the gym 30 minutes later instead of waiting an hour or more, because if I ate like meat or whatever, which takes longer to digest. So I want something that's fast to digest. So I get the Greek yogurt, whey protein, and that's gonna sustain me at the gym. Now, if I were not going to the gym, that might be my last meal of the day. And then these will be my numbers, and then I still get adequate amount of protein, carbs, and fats. So if I go to the gym, I'm gonna go to the gym for an hour or whatever, hour and a half perhaps, and then when I come back, I'm going to have my protein drink. And so I got my 1 scoop of whey protein, which is 25 grams of protein, but here's what I do. also is I'm gonna take 2 cups of milk, I'm gonna warm it up, and then I'm gonna have warm milk, which gives me another 26 grams of protein, my 1 scoop of whey, and so that's 25 grams of protein. And I'm gonna add in honey, because not to get into it too much, but after a workout, it's actually helpful to have some carbs to help transport the protein to your muscles faster. So you want a fast digesting carb to ingest with your protein, so those carbs carry the protein to your muscles faster. So that's a little bit more of a physiology type of a thing, anatomy type of a thing, but just can I give you the cliff notes on that, is that after a workout, it's actually beneficial to have some carbs. So you might want to give that a shot. So just to give myself some extra protein, I'm gonna have 2 cups of milk. Like I mentioned earlier, in the Fairlife brand, there's 13 grams of protein in it per serving. So 2 cups is gonna be 26, another 25 grams of protein. So now I just took in 50 grams of protein, and 2 tablespoons of honey is 28 carbs. And then there's some carbs also in the milk, and there's also some carbs in the whey. So this is a really great high protein, decent amount of carb drink after workout drink that you can take in, which is going to help nourish your muscles and this and that. So let's just say you didn't like honey, but perhaps you want sweet tarts, or if you want gummy bears, just do the math on that. Look at the back of the nutrition label on your gummy bears or whatever else you might be eating, and just plug in those numbers as well. So, and before bed, I typically like to have 3 whole eggs and also 1 tablespoon of butter. And this is a high fat meal, which having fat before bed is really great, because while you're sleeping, that's when your testosterone is produced, and testosterone and hormones need fat to produce, on an optimal level. So before bed, I have a high fat meal, but it's also low carbs. So that way I'm not adding on extra fat while I'm sleeping. Now the carbs right here are good to have, as mentioned, because it's great to have carbs after a workout, but you don't necessarily want to eat carbs right before bed or meat. So as I said, we want to keep everything easy to digest as we go later on throughout the day. So if I'm having meal 6 here, perhaps around 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night, but I'm going to bed at midnight, that's more than fine. I'm not going to bed right after I eat. But this is going to be a decent amount of protein and a good amount of fat, which is going to sustain my hormones as I sleep throughout the night. So this is kind of like a basic structure on a meal plan that you can do as well. And if there's something you don't like, you can switch it out, and you just do the math on it. But this is a great structure to just get things started with. So going back to this though, is that here we go. We got 232 grams of protein, 136 carbs, and then we got 80 grams of fat. So there's other things that you can do. Like let's just say if I wanted some chocolate, for instance, I'm using chocolate as another example. If I'm going to have, let's just say another 11 carbs right here, I'm still within range, and I can have 1/2 of a chocolate bar, for instance, and still have 11 carbs, and then I'm hitting 147 carbs right here, and I'm still below my 150 aim. So I can have half it on this diet. I can still have half a chocolate bar and still be below my carb allowance. Now it might be a little bit more higher in fats, but I'm not too worried about fats, because fats are good for you and healthy for you. It's the carbs that we want to worry about, because carbs, if you eat too much, they turn into stored energy, and stored energy turns into fat if you don't eat it, burn off right away. So this is how I'm talking about, is like you can still add in chocolate, you can still add in your favorite little meals and still be within range. So that's what I want to say. Like the maintenance diet is actually really great. And so it's got a lot of flexibility to help keep your life enjoyable when it comes to eating. But I'm going to keep these meal plans in the course, so that way you can look at it for yourself, you can print them out for yourself, or you can change things out as you see fit. So I hope this video is helpful, and I'm going to show you how I weigh out my food, and I'm going to also show you how I prep for the day, and I'm going to show you how easy it is. And once you once you learn how easy it is to weigh out your food and things like that, once you get disciplined on it, it's really easy to substitute one thing out for another. So for instance, if I wanted peanut butter in this meal right here with my Greek yogurt and whey, perhaps I would eliminate this salad dressing or olive oil, and then I'm still within range of my diet. So just little things that you can do to switch things out. So it's whatever you like, but once you get your structure, once you're disciplined enough with your diet and you're structured, you can then start becoming more flexible with substituting like one item for another item. And then even if you got to eat or whatever, you're still gonna be within range because you're at least doing an eyeball calculation, and just always staying within range on your diet. So in the next videos, I'm gonna show you how I weigh out my food and how I do my meal plan for the day and how I structure everything out. So I hope this video is helpful for you, and I'm gonna show you in the next video how I put this to work.